Hey y'all, IrixGuy here. Welcome back to another live show. And today we're going to talk about a little bit of everything. Drones, obviously, cameras, travel, you name it. I mean, it's a live show, so comment in the comment section within YouTube, and I'll be able to see your comments in real time. At the time of hosting this live show, it's approximately 11:07 a.m. New York City time, so that's 11:07 a.m. East Coast time on March 31st. So again, if you're watching it then, it's a live show, so comment live. And without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. We got a lot of people tuning in. Reserved came in, said, hey, welcome aboard, dude. I want to remind everyone that, there is the Super Chat option. If you choose to check out Super Chat, it definitely helps to support the channel. And any drones, cameras, drone accessories, camera accessories, etc., just expand this video's description and then check the links there. Just go directly to IrixGuy.com and you can find all of that. That's another way that you can choose to support the channel. Again, I am an independent YouTuber, and try to stay as lean as possible, even with haircuts. I mean, look at my haircut. It's not, it's not the most stylish haircut, but it was cheap. So, anything I can do to keep this a lean operation while continuing to provide what y'all feel is quality content. So, yeah, it looks like now one of the big things in the news at NAB, it's a big broadcaster show, looks like DJI is not going to be there. So, the fact that DJI is not going to be at the NAB show, that could signal their behavior similar to a company such as Apple. Apple, Apple hosts their own events. They host now they've got the spaceship out at Apple headquarters, and they have a big theater there, and they host their own events. They're that type of company. So, it makes me wonder if DJI may be going in that direction. Maybe DJI is going to follow Apple in its footsteps even more closely. And maybe they're going to start hosting, which they already do on a small scale. But, maybe DJI feels that they're so good now that they're like an Apple and they don't need to attend these big NAB shows, CES, etc. I mean, who knows? But that's quite interesting that, DJI being an aerial camera manufacturer, that's their primary business, is creating the best aerial platform for cameras and the associated cameras. I mean, they're making the cameras now too. So for them to not be at the NAB show, which is big for cameras, is kind of weird. But I don't think it's a bad thing. But I think it may tell us that, it may be a while before we see the next drone. I mean, right now, without a doubt, and again, we're all subject to our own opinions, but without a doubt, the Mavic 2 Pro is still the king. When you're looking at drones today, you want the best video, the best portability, the best user interface, the best reliability. You're probably going to go with that Mavic 2 Pro. So, but it makes one wonder what's next, and when is it coming, and is it going to be the Phantom 5? Is it going to be another maybe another Spark, maybe another Mavic? I think it's premature to release another Mavic. I think they're going to let that one breathe for a year or so, I would think. But yeah, just really interesting stuff in the drone world today. And I mean, I don't know. I mean, we got tons of people tuning in here. So what do y'all think? I mean, is there a drone manufacturer out there that you feel is about to hit the market in a big way? I mean, we've seen a lot of would-be drone manufacturers come out, including GoPro, and they just didn't, they didn't really pan out. So it's kind of a weird, it's a weird world that we're in right now. But yeah, I mean, it's, but 2019, I have a feeling the fourth quarter of 2019, and maybe even the third quarter, as we start to approach the holiday selling season and that sort of thing, I bet we're going to see something cool. One of the things, and I keep talking about this because it's really surprised me in an extremely positive way. And, you know, I had the old Osmo, the original Osmo that had the, you know, the DJI camera on top of it. And I tried the DJI Ronin S, but for whatever reason, the Ronin S refused to properly balance my my Sony a7 III on top of it. There's Tamara. I know what Tamara wants to see. Tamara wants to see something that's sitting over there. Hey, Sean Coonery. Sean Coonery. Excuse me, sir. Sean Coonery, the big Maine Coon cat. Arguably the most famous cat in the universe. Let me go get him. Excuse me, sir. Yeah, we're going to go over here. Tamara wants to see you. I know why Tamara tuned in. Tamara tuned in for this. I bet Tamara tuned in for you. So, yeah. Say hello to Tamara, Mr. Coonery. Say hello to Tamara. Sorry, we got a brief network blip there. Hold on. There we go. We're cleared up. Sean Coonery, the enormous Maine Coon cat. He says, hello to Tamara. Thank you for tuning in. I know that you came in just to see me. Ha, ha, ha. See? Look at him. He's like, yep. See, you interrupted his nap, and he's very irritated, but he's, you know, again, he's one of the core components of IrixGuy's Adventure Channel, and personally does everything that he can do to help promote the channel. Isn't that right? Yeah. He said, that is enough. He said, I've got to go back to my enormous dog bed. Yep. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Don't type. Don't type. We don't need hateful messages. Nope. We don't need vulgar content. Vulgar content on this channel. Sean Coonery, excuse me, sir. Yep. So there's Tamara. Gio says he's bigger than my dog. Hey, he's bigger than a lot of people. I mean, he's enormous. Enormous Maine Coon. And what's funny is that when, you know, when animal patrols around and all that, if he's sitting in the window, they often think it's a lynx because of his wild ears and his big size. So yeah, he's quite an intimidating big Maine Coon cat. So yeah, but one thing that's really impressed me, and look at that. He said that's a nice camera. This thing right here, the Osmo Pocket, has really. Whoa, we need to get a brush out here. He said he's shedding some of that winter fur. Excuse me. But yeah, the Osmo Pocket is super cool because, like I was saying, the DJI Ronin S, the Ronin S is on paper really good, and for a lot of people that use the Lumix GH5, they've had an awesome experience with it because the GH5 was able to interface with the Ronin S by way of the USB-C cable. The Sony Alpha A7 III that I used, it did not balance on the Ronin S. And that's the first, that's the first DJI product that I've owned that I've been deeply disappointed with, was the Ronin S. And, you know, maybe if I was a Panasonic Lumix GH5 user, I would have had a different opinion. But I'm not. Because I like Sony Alpha. And, you know, once you're deeply invested in a camera lens, a type of lens, in my case the E-mount, it doesn't make financial sense to use a different type of camera. So, you know, that being the case, you know, I'm married to Sony Alpha. But, you know, they had the original Osmo, and then they had the Ronin S. But when then they had the smartphone, the Osmo Mobile and the Osmo Mobile 2, which I thought the Osmo Mobile 2 was pretty cool. But my biggest pain point with it was that, you know, I had to use my iPhone. And there's nothing wrong with the iPhone. iPhone video is mediocre. It's actually pretty good for most use cases, but I'm still using my iPhone with it. And that wasn't optimal because I'm carrying around my iPhone, and then I'm carrying around a somewhat, it was easily portable, but a somewhat large Osmo Mobile 2. And then DJI came out with this, the Osmo Pocket, and this has been a game changer. You know, looking at it, it's easy to say, oh man, that's just a tiny camera. You know, that's not going to be great video quality, blah, blah, blah. But the reality is that I've already filmed a lot of videos with this, and it's very smooth. And mixing this video, the Osmo Pocket video, in with video filmed with my primary camera, my A7 III or my A7R III, mixing that video with this Osmo Pocket video, it looks very good together. So, you know, if you're filming your primary face-on video type segments, in my case with the Sony Alpha, and then you want to have some action shots, like for example, check out my video, Sipsey Wilderness Backpacking, that I posted a few days ago. Let me get a link to that. Let me get a link to that video here for everyone. Let's see. So this video, let's see. Be just a second here. So yeah, this video was a mix between Sony Alpha footage and Osmo Pocket footage. And I'll go ahead and tell you, the parts where I was walking, not every part, but most of the parts, where it was just super silky smooth, looked like it was filmed professionally, those parts were filmed with this. And, you know, and obviously when I was doing time lapses and that sort of stuff, I was using the Sony Alpha. But this little thing is just an awesome addition. Should be an awesome addition to anyone's mobile video arsenal, because you can capture that B-roll footage very smooth, mechanically stabilized gimbal. You know, this is not software stabilization. You know, again, nothing wrong with software stabilization. GoPro does a pretty good job with software stabilization in the current model GoPro Black Series. But software stabilization, at least today, is not as good and as smooth as gimbal stabilized, mechanically gimbal stabilized footage, because it's using software to stabilize it. This is a camera sitting up there, and it's got a gimbal just like a drone, except it's handheld and you can mount this. And that's something, one of the things I'm excited to do with this is put it underwater, not like this, but in a waterproof housing, and see how well it performs underwater. Because this is a notch above, from a video quality and a video stability perspective. This is a notch above the current model GoPro. You know, and it makes one wonder, is DJI going to release, because I'm sure this was very successful for DJI, is DJI going to release an Osmo Pocket Pro and give us something like this, but a Hasselblad 1-inch sensor camera like they have on the Mavic 2 Pro? That would be super cool. Not that this footage isn't good enough. Again, this footage is good enough to mix in with you know, my Sony Alpha footage and create just a very cinematic type of look for videos. Born 100 years too late says GoPro does an excellent job with the image stabilization on the Hero 7 Black. I strongly agree. You know, I would go as far as to say that the image stabilization on GoPro 7 Hero Black is GoPro's greatest accomplishment since, let's see, trying to think their accomplishment previously that would have been the greatest. Probably when they came out with their first 4K action camera. I would say that, you know, the Hero 7 Black, the image stabilization is their #2 greatest accomplishment, because they failed epically, unfortunately, with the GoPro Karma. And you know what's funny? They came out with Jonathan Fells. Hello, Irish guy from Pennsylvania. Welcome aboard. And eat some of those Pat's and Gino's cheesesteaks for me. I remember I was up there. I flew up to Pennsylvania and ate a Pat's, walked around the corner, ate a Gino's, because I was really hungry. I just ate both and wanted to see what was really good. And then went into that little that market area that's just a bunch of food places. So Pennsylvania is an awesome place. If you like to eat, awesome place. But yeah, so GoPro is just, you know, the Hero 7 Black, they've done a great job. But what's funny is, you know, GoPro really got off track in a seriously painful way, and that's when they went public. You know, they're publicly traded. They've got investors, and you know, most anytime a company goes public, and people start buying the company's stock, a lot of the company's direction is no longer, well, what do we want to release? How do we want to release it? What do we want it to do? It's more of a, well, let's propose this. Let's go to our investors and see what they say. And unfortunately, when a stock is public, Michael, welcome aboard. Sean Coonery, excuse me, sir. Yeah, but unfortunately, when a company goes public, their freedom to choose to release a certain product or a certain feature is now dictated, unfortunately, by Wall Street. So GoPro Karma was a prime example of that. You know, drones were hot in the news. GoPro felt like they had to get on, and their investors felt like, well, you know, we've got to release something innovative and hot. And what better way to do that than to release a drone when drones were, you know, it was the most popular thing at that point in time. Well, what GoPro did by doing that is they released a product too fast. DJI immediately followed up with the release of the Mavic Pro, and I don't know if GoPro knew that was coming or not. If they did, they should have just delayed their Karma's release. But GoPro ended up releasing the Karma, which was recalled due to potential safety issues. And then GoPro released the Karma Grip, which was pretty cool. But the Karma Grip was kind of big. I mean, it wasn't too big and it wasn't too heavy, but it was kind of large. And it's something else that you got to charge. And it's not waterproof. And it's not ruggedized. So, you know, the Karma Grip completely did away with the value add that the GoPro itself, being somewhat highly waterproof, even without a case, brought to the table. So then, you know, you put it in a Karma Grip for handheld gimbal action. You know, now you've got something that's not waterproof. But I think the Hero 7 Black, to your point, that was really cool because it's basically GoPro's acknowledgement saying, hey, our Karma Grip was a failure, but and our Karma drone was a failure. But here we go. We're going to improve the software stabilization and bring you the Hero 7 Black, which is a pretty good performer. But again, I still prefer the Osmo Pocket. On today's date, this thing is my favorite, is my favorite action camera. Without the waterproof housing, it's not waterproof. But in the waterproof housing, once I get a chance to test that, I'm hoping it performs well in its waterproof housing. And if it does, this will remain my #1 action camera. With that being said, Sony just unveiled, and it's kind of on the higher price point spectrum, but was it RX02? It looks like a GoPro in shape, but it's got a Carl Zeiss lens. So it's going to be interesting to see when that thing hits the street. You know, how does it perform? Because I'm deeply obsessed with Sony. I mean, Sony Alpha cameras do the best job. You know, when I'm looking to get the absolute best video quality and photo quality, you know, I'm going after Sony Alpha. And part of that's because I know that Sony Alpha, you know, when I adjust the settings, I know the type of video or the type of photo I want to capture. I'm comfortable with the menu interface. And from one version to the next, the Sony Alpha just tends to get better. I mean, I haven't seen Sony take a step backwards as far as performance is concerned with their Sony Alpha line. So that's a good thing. And for that reason, although it's not Sony Alpha, you know, the RX02, the new action camera that Sony's released, I'm curious about it. But yeah, it's going to be a good year for well, at least for cameras. Now I'm not really sure about drones. I mean, hopefully we'll see something. You know, hopefully we'll see a Phantom 5, or, you know, optimally we would see a company like a Google or a Microsoft, you know, or even an Apple. You know, one of those big ones come in and say, hey, we're going to release a drone. I think that would be super cool, because if they decided to do it, number one, they would have the budget. Number two, they would have the R&D resources. And number three, they wouldn't want to fail because they're such big brands. You know, they don't want to put something out on the market that's going to disappoint. And I think there's a huge opportunity for that. And why have we not seen? And I know Theta just released a camera, and you can check out my website, IrixGuy.com, to find all these cameras and and drones that I'm mentioning, but it's I mean, I don't know. I mean, 360, spherical, VR, whatever you want to call it. Those types of cameras that film in all directions, why aren't those becoming mainstream? Why don't we see one of those available on a drone? Why don't they offer a Mavic 2 that has a 360-degree camera option? I mean, it's hard to argue that the Mavic 2 is not the perfect flying platform because you get good battery life. It's highly portable. You know, if they would just make it to where if DJI would do a minor refresh of the Mavic 2 to where it would be easy for a user, the end user without tools, to be able to unscrew and pop on a new camera. You know, whether you're going from the Hasselblad to the Zoom, or you know, and add that third option, add the spherical VR camera, because I think there's a huge not yet discovered market. I mean, people don't. It's hard to see the need, to visualize the need for that type of camera unless you've used that type of camera for other applications. And again, having a drone where the operator, number one, they're fighting with battery life, you know, whether it's 20 minutes, 30 minutes, whatever the battery life may be for their drone, you know, they're up there flying around. They may not have a lot of extra batteries, and they're trying to capture the core shots. So what better way to do that than to have a camera that's filming in all directions, so that then within post-production they can say, okay, we want to feature this or we want to feature that, and use that previously captured video and just highlight certain key elements. You know, maybe there's something over here, maybe there's something over there, maybe there's something here and there at the same time, but when they edit, they're able to say, okay, here's a clip of this and here's a clip of that. Or maybe they just want to present it in 360 format, so it's delivered to the viewer and the viewer can watch in all directions. You know, that's the flexibility that VR, 360, spherical, whatever term you want to use for that type of camera brings to the table. And that's a use case that, again, you know, especially if you're a commercial, if you're a commercial drone pilot, it could save a lot of time. You know, flying the same flight multiple times with a camera on a different focal point during each flight. You know, in theory, someone could fly one flight, capture all the footage they need, and then move on. You know, it enables the operator to carry less extra batteries. It enables the operator to have to fly the same flight pattern more than once. It opens up an entirely new realm of opportunity. And for hobbyists, especially YouTubers like myself, you know, you want to feature a video where the viewer can become really engaged while watching that footage. What better way to do that than to share that video in 360-degree spherical format? You know, because when they're watching, the effect that the viewer has is that they're watching from the cockpit, and while they're in the cockpit, they can look around in all directions. So it adds more realism to the video. It adds an additional interactive element. Again, just more. It provides video creators with the opportunity to publish videos that are more interactive. But also, it provides people with a time-saving component, being able to film that one flight, you know, film that flight one time, and then from that one flight's footage, be able to use certain elements as needed to create a video that's not VR, just a standard video, and just focus on different areas. So, I mean, I don't know. I'm totally in the dark as to why DJI especially has not brought us a 360-degree camera option for a Mavic 2, for a Mavic Air, or for a Phantom drone. I could care less about the Inspire. It's too big. It's too heavy. It's not convenient for me. And again, that's me. But, you know, any drone you're looking for, just go to IrixGuy.com or EpicDroneShow.com. You can find them all there. So, yeah, I mean, it's an interesting period that we're in right now, and something that we're seeing, that we're experiencing, aside from all the pollen. Pollen is about to drive me crazy. My eyes are all messed up, and I got that green stuff all over my everything. I put my camera out and it just turned green from all the pollen. But But yeah, we're in an interesting period right now because, we're past the newness of drones. I think it's safe to say that, we're outside of that initial phase where it's like, oh man, what was that? I saw something flying. I didn't know what it was. What was that? We're outside of that. But I think now, as hobbyists, hopefully we'll get to see at an international level, hopefully we'll get to see people start to relax. Drones are no longer new. All the idiots that went out and got a drone and flew it recklessly are hopefully gone. Hopefully they've done all they wanted to do and they've discontinued that bad act. But, now maybe we'll start to see really refined drones hit the market. More refined than what we've seen so far. Again, with 360 cameras, maybe the regulations at an international level will start to lighten up. I mean, we're already starting to see signs of that. But again, regulations, unfortunately, whether it's drone or whatever, often once something is implemented, it's very rare that it's done away with. I mean, you can look at a lot of things, and once it's implemented, it's often never done away with because it just requires so much such a time commitment on behalf of the politicians and all parties involved. It's once it's there, it's probably there. It's safe to assume it's probably there to stay. So, but with that being said, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I hope there's a lot of good things that come into play for this hobby. I think in the United States at least, the new requirement to put the drone's registration number on the outside of the aircraft. I don't think that's a huge deal, but it does show that they've tightened up regulations because originally, at least in the United States, they said, hey, you could put it, whether you're a hobbyist or commercial user, you could put it in a place that could be accessible without tools. So a lot of people would put it above their battery. And, if they were inspected in the field by the FAA, they could just, without tools, take the battery out, and they would be able to see the drone's registration number. But now it's required to be outside on the, on the outer part of the drone. So you can no longer do that. It's got to be visible without having to open or remove anything. So, that's a sign that, maybe they're doing that because maybe they're going to lighten up. I mean, right now, if people want to fly a drone you've got, in most scenarios, you've got civil twilight and civil sunrise. So typically it's about a 30-minute window in the morning, 30-minute window before the sun rises, and then in the evening, 30-minute window after the sun sets. But again, that can all change. I mean, you got to read all the fine print. So there's, it'd be really cool if they would open up, if they would allow hobbyists to fly at night, obviously in safe and responsible locations without the risk of interfering with any sort of air traffic. So, I mean, I don't know. I mean, they control everything. They tell us what we can and can't do, at least in the United States. But it's, I mean, I don't know. I mean, do y'all think that the regulations are too stiff right now? Do you think that you can't enjoy your hobby because of the regulations, or do you think that the regulations are just, acceptable at this point to where they're not interfering with the hobby? Man, we got a lot of people tuning in here. As I reminded everyone, the super chat, it's an option that that YouTube has really encouraged. Well, I wouldn't say they've encouraged, but they've promoted and they made creators like myself aware of it. So if you want a super chat, there should be a super chat option there now. I don't know if that's available for all channels. It may be, but I know it should be available on mine. And, obviously anything that you're looking for, whether it's a drone accessory, or camera, please check out my website. Being an independent YouTuber, I'm always trying to find ways to support this channel. And again, it's completely optional. You can even you can choose Patreon. You can choose to support me on Patreon too. If you expand this video's description, there's a link there to Patreon, and it's just a way that again, you can choose to support the channel. And something I want to do with Patreon is that in the near future I want to start offering some exclusive content and that sort of stuff for Patreon supporters only. So again, that's in the works. But if you choose to do so, you can choose to support the channel on Patreon. Just small things like that help and help this independent channel continue to grow. So one thing that I am proud of is the repair job of a sailboat. I haven't been out in the ocean as much recently because there's been some issues with the boat. So I'm proud to announce that the boat has been repaired and that there will be some really, really cool, hopefully awesome, not just drone footage, but also traditional Sony Alpha footage from the back of the boat. And I've got all that in the works, and couldn't be happier because when you're dependent upon a vessel to take you places, and then that vessel's out of commission, it becomes a major pain point. So that being said, there's a lot of really super duper, which I hope and I feel confident should be super duper cool content for the channel coming extremely soon during 2019. So stay tuned for that. And thanks everyone, for tuning in. I'm really looking forward to the next thing. I mean, right now, just to recap, the two at this point in time, being March 31st of 2019, my two favorite items right now that are somewhat new, the Osmo Pocket and the Mavic 2 Pro, and then obviously my Sony Alpha cameras. I never become bored with the Sony Alpha cameras because they're just kind of that core tool for capturing both videos and photos in the highest quality possible. So with that being said, it's going to be 2019 is going to be a huge adventure here on IrixGuy's Adventure Channel. Got some YouTube collaborations coming up. Hopefully plan to make it back over to YouTube Space over at Chelsea Market. I haven't been by and visited YouTube Space in a few months. I got to get back over there and check out the new studio sets. So that'll be another cool cool thing that I want to share with everyone. So with that being said, let's go ahead and stay tuned for the next episode. These aren't scheduled, but I'm going to try to have a lot more IrixGuy's live shows, and of course Epic Drone Show, especially as we start to see the new drones hit the market. Get back on the Epic Drone Show warpath and having those live shows. So yeah. Well, thanks everyone for tuning in, and if you haven't subscribed, be sure to do so and ring that bell icon when you do to be notified whenever I post another video. For all of your drone camera accessory needs, check out IrixGuy.com. You can find all the equipment there. If you don't see it, shoot me a message on Facebook.com/IrixGuy and tell me what you're looking for, and I'll be more than happy to try to find a link to you, a link for you rather. So thanks in advance, and if you're flying a drone, be safe, be responsible, have a good time, respect others, and y'all have a good day. Hey y'all, IrixGuy here. If you enjoyed this video, please be sure to subscribe, like, and share. It's viewers like you that enable my channel to continue to grow. Thank you.